Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Meet the Eco Artist series tonight. We're going to give you all a few minutes to hop on to our live. We are joined tonight by Christopher Hardgrove. We're going to be talking about some great eco art, including some really fun hydroponic gardening. So a lot to learn about how to combine your love of nature and art. I'm going to give us like one more minute just to have some people join us on the live. You can feel free to ask questions in the comments. Feel free to do that and share and like this video so that we can keep doing more of these. And yeah, as you all know, I'm Alexa. Welcome to Teaneck Creek Conservancy. We're so excited to have you here tonight. I'm going to pass this on over to Allie to begin our conversation with Chris. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Chris. Thanks so much for joining us today. We are very excited to have you here. As some of you may know, Chris is actually a member of our Eco Art Committee here at Teaneck Creek. So he helps us with all of our eco artwork, from working on deciding what installations are going to go in to deciding how we're going to maintain them, that whole range of things. So could you actually get us started by telling us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I started studying studio art and advertising at the University of Miami. I grew up in New Jersey, but now I'm a Philly-based artist, so nice in Philly. During my time in university, I've had the opportunity to show in Miami and had a studio artist residency in Brisbane, Australia at the Queensland College of Art. I've also had artist residencies in Chicago, San Antonio, Florence, and have worked all over and worked on my master's at the University of Texas in San Antonio. So that's a little bit about me. Also, you can find my work at christopherhardgrove.com. So if you want to see where I'm coming at as an artist, that's where I am.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. It's kind of interesting to hear a little bit like how you came to where you are right now. That's perfect.
So kind of just wanted to kind of get an understanding of what mediums that you prefer to work in. So could you tell us a little bit about, some of the works that you have done or what you have shown across the world?
Yeah, so actually, while I was in Brisbane, I had a sculpture studio. So I was like really focusing on becoming a sculptor. But because I am an American and did not have access to a lot of art supplies, and I wanted a lot, and I wanted to be an installation artist. So an installation artist being someone that actually takes over a space. I used raw materials of what was found around me. So cans, aluminum, newspaper, paper in general. And that really got me into thinking of the amount of product that I was using. And it really made me feel good that I was kind of upcycling. So that whole kind of idea of taking something that has already been used and possibly won't even get recycled again and bringing it into an art world. I really like that nice juxtaposition.
Yeah, I love that. That aligns so well with our mission at Teaneck Creek too, obviously. We're trying to reuse different materials. Where do you feel most creative? Is it indoors, outdoors?
I actually feel most creative around creative people. I think that's where I'm like really get going. When I'm in studio visits or when people are visiting me in my studio and we're just talking and having like really good conversation and people are having a fun conversation, that's where I'm like, oh, and then we could do this and then you could do that and then you can like bring it in further. I really enjoy that. I work with a lot of students, so I'm also a substitute teacher in New Jersey, so I like working with kids and getting them excited about art. So that's like, you kind of find that love again of art.
That's really great to be able to share your passion with the next generation and to have them be able to experience it with you. That's really exciting. We love doing that at Teaneck Creek too. We have a lot of programs that we work with bringing artists to schools or to the park so that it is open for everyone. We want art to be able to be experienced by all. So that's really great. We wanted to just touch on the work that you've already done with us at Teaneck Creek. So Chris is a relatively new artist to our Eco Art Committee, probably having been involved with us just less than a year now. and already has contributed so much to the Conservancy by being the genius behind our beautiful new logo that we've worked real hard on, and Chris put in a lot of time and effort. And so we wanted to just talk a little bit about that process, because we know that you came to the park to kind of gain inspiration, but we wanted to hear kind of how that digital design process kind of comes about.
Yeah, so the new logo, I'm pretty proud of. It's cool. It's still organic though, and I think that's one thing that we like at Teaneck Creek we have to be mindful of, is being organic and reminding people what's there. You know, so bringing back, keeping the turtle and keeping the circle feel of the previous logo, and then having the cattails there as well. Not being, I'm a very clean graphic designer, so I don't like a lot of stuff in a logo. It's just one of those things that's my style for graphic design. Design in general, I'm pretty like clean, simple lines. I enjoy that very much. And then with the Teaneck Creek logo, we got to bring in the nature, bring in some organic shapes, but still having it in a clean, presenting, branding way, easy to read. I definitely looked at other parks across the nation, where they're going, and then bringing us into like a modern, cool way with all the restorations we're doing, and just putting a nice, clean face on us at Teaneck Creek.
Yeah, we love it too, obviously. And we're so happy. Obviously, we've had our old logo for the entire time Teaneck Creek has been around, so 20 years. So we definitely needed a facelift, something new, and it's perfect. Can you also tell us about some of the other projects you're working on? I know that you're working on a floating reef project in Florida. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have family in the southwest part of Florida, and what's common there are these man-made canals. They're saltwater, they hook up to our oceans, and that's great. But because they are man-made and not a lot of currents are through there, or going through there, they have problems with algae, they have problems with pollution, they have problems with just like not enough biodiversity. I do not have a biology degree. This is not where that's coming from. But my father and I were kind of like looking at other docks, and we discovered two products. One is a concrete reef. I believe they're called reefballs.com, and basically they're cement reefs that go into the ground underwater, obviously, and can recreate and fish and biodiversity and mollusks and everything will come and grow on that, which is great. Bringing biodiversity into areas that wouldn't have it until then, and it just kind of helps the ecosystem so much, and it almost creates an ecosystem. And then there's another product that is a floating reef. We'll put that in quotes. I was told by a marine biologist that you can't call it a reef unless it's connected, unless it's actually part of the floor.
Good to know, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know that. So that is something that I've learned. But then, so this floating reef is plastic, unfortunately. But what it is basically cake layers of plastic sheets. And what happens is algae will naturally grow. Mollusks and clams and all different types will form onto it and grow and keep growing and keep growing. And what that's going to do, it's going to bring biodiversity to the water. It's also going to clean the water, because that's what oysters and clams and scallops do. They do that. So one thing that I was looking into is like, all right, how can we make this better? And that's like one of the things that I looked into for my hydroponic as well, is like, how can I make this better? How can I make this more aesthetic? As an artist, I have a design eye. Let's see how we can make this better. So I took that idea and kind of played around with how someone could easily install something, how someone could easily take this floating reef and get wonderful growth from it. What I'm going to do now is show you some photos that I got going on of the reef.
I was just going to say, I think it's really inspiring to talk about how you don't have a background in science or biology or anything like that, but saw a problem that you wanted to address in the natural world and are using art in a way, and your creative design process in a way to make a real world, solve this real world problem. So that's really inspiring, I think, for people that maybe don't have that full understanding of ecology or the background in biology. But if they have a design eye or see this problem, that there's definitely solutions out there. So that's real cool. Oh, and look at this picture.
Yes. Okay, great. You can see it. So actually what I wanted to test out first was materials. So what kind of material, one, is good for the environment, two, is good for growth and will actually see growth. So what you're seeing now is actually Trex. Trex is that that brand of like decking material that it's all recycled materials. It's just, I'm not a huge fan of using it, but it is one of the first experiments we had with it. And this is about, I want to say, a year of growth, maybe 10 months of growth, this photo. So what you're seeing on top, lots of bullets we're getting, and this is all natural growth. I did not introduce anything to the environment other than that piece of Trex that's floating. One interesting thing is there's smaller ones on top and bigger ones on bottom, and the current will naturally float and rotate this piece of Trex.
Wow.
So you're seeing algae growth and that kind of thing. One of the coolest things that I'll nerd out about is you're going to see when these products go into the water, you're going to see a lot more biodiversity. So you're going to see a lot more minnows. You're going to see a lot more different types of fish that wouldn't naturally, that would naturally be in the environment. But because they're man-made and they're kind of like these empty vessels, shells, and there's nothing really under the docks, it takes a lot for the environment to kind of grow inside. So just kind of adding that, the base, the framework for that. Let's go. So on this, I wanted to also experiment and kind of see growth based on oyster lines. So oyster lines, really great growth. Oysters actually, they grow on themselves. So when we get oysters from the environment to eat, they're fantastic. I love oysters, but you're actually taking out their habitat as well. So it's one of those things that it's really, really great and something that we need to focus on. Sustainable oyster farming. Oysters are really great for to prevent storm surges, and just they really protect our coast so much. And as you can see, there's tons of minnows. I scared some away by taking this photo, and even then there's still some there. But you're seeing just an oyster line going down. From investigating, I've learned so much. One of the main things is the best growth happens in the top 24 inches of from like highest to lowest tide. So something that really is just experimenting, just trying your best. What you're seeing at the top of the photo is actually oyster bags. So that's typically how oyster farming happens, in bags. They're typically under docks and that kind of thing. Let's see what we got. Another photo. Again, you're seeing a lot more minnows that wouldn't be there if there weren't like places for them to hide. There wasn't food for them. And then as you know, like that's obviously going to attract bigger fish. And that's what bringing in a whole type of new biodiversity. One type of fish that I really like into is super pretty. I don't think I have a photo of it. Is a spadefish. It came in almost within like 2 months of us starting to experiment with that.
Wow.
And we've never seen that before, which is kind of interesting. So you're seeing on the top of the dock, what you're seeing is the oyster lines. So this growth is about 9 or 10 months. Again, what I did was I actually just took like a wire. It has a casing around it so it doesn't corrode. And then what I took is oyster shells that I got from a restaurant. I said, hey, can I take these oyster shells home? And they were like, yeah, we usually just throw them out. I'm like, okay, that's terrible.
Upcycling.
Yeah.
So what I did is I drilled holes in them and I did kinks in the wire and basically created a line of them. And then it was literally like one shell every like 3 inches. So in 10 months, you're seeing all new growth. And that will naturally occur. I literally do nothing. I'm trying to create, and with the hydroponics as well, my goal is to create very sustainable, easy products for someone to help the environment. And also to kind of like, it's incredible the amount of fish that we see. We saw a 4-foot nurse shark.
Wow.
I've seen tons of jellyfish. And all these things are not tons, a few cool big jellyfish. I've seen all different new fish in there and around it, and what it is attracting it and that kind of stuff. But also like with these mollusks and this mollusk growth. And as you can see along the wall, you're seeing growth as well, right? That'll naturally happen. But that wall is about 3 years old. Yeah, about 3 or 4 years old. So you can see that the extent of growth over 10 months versus 3 years off the wall of the cement. So something very naturally smooth versus growing off your oyster shell or your Trex. So let's see what else we got.
Did you notice any change? Oh, sorry. Did you notice any change in water visibility too? I know obviously the oysters are pulling lots of debris.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that is all like, that is pure intent. That is exactly what I want. We have seen ranges in water quality because it is literally, it's a huge canal system. It's not something that I could be like, yeah, it cleans the water. I mean, obviously,
yes, no,
it will clean the water. My goal is to get it underneath every single dock. Like, what is the best to get under someone's dock? This is kind of, it's a hexagonal shape. It floats. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. But what it is, it will float on top of the water. You can see kind of, if I do that, can you tell if I'm zooming in? No?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what you're seeing is like algae growth, seaweed and that kind of stuff. But there are small holes in it. It's great for habitat. It's great for minnows to hide. It's just a really great, this is 2 months of growth. There are some small scallops on the inside, which is kind of interesting. They do like darker spaces, so it makes sense. But then you're seeing minnows go in and out of it. You're seeing, I saw a ton of shrimp on it, which I've never seen before in the canals, like actual like little baby shrimp growth and like growing out of it. I don't know if they were like born there. I don't see them how they could have gotten there other than that, but very, very cool. Very, very cool. Also my finger. All right. So this, you're seeing an oyster line. This is about 2 months. We put this up a little high, so we're not seeing much growth on it. Again, just testing. And then this is the Trex. Again, about a year of growth. You're seeing the algae underneath. One thing that was recommended to me was when you have a system like this, there's a environmental like peak where it's like, oh, this is like the perfect peak and awesomeness, and it's getting like fish can come in and eat. Fish can like lay eggs and have little nurseries and hide from bigger fish and that kind of stuff. And then it kind of plateaus. So one of the things that I've been playing around with is the idea of rotating and the sun drying out the algae, and then kind of playing with that of how new seaweed and new plants will grow on the actual Trex. More fish will come, and kind of that rotation, like of an actual ecosystem would happen. So it's always hard to try and recreate that, but it's what I'm trying to do. So this, you're seeing a little bit of everything. You're seeing the bags, the wires, and then my newest guys. So these were in a day. That's why. They are pine. And what I'm trying to do is create a very simple system that rotates. I was recommended to do a white or yellow pine. It's least likely to affect the water. So one of the things about the concrete is it has to be marine grade, and you don't want to actually affect the alkalinity or acidicness of the water. So things that are natural materials. So this is an all natural rope, that kind of thing. Obviously, the tape on the end is not, but just reducing, just in case. That's like the biggest thing for marine biologists is having those plastic floating reefs. While they're like do create a lot of good things, if a hurricane comes or anything like that and they get out, that's more plastic in the ocean. So it's something that I'm like playing with, experimenting with, seeing what's going on. But again, hopefully in about like 4 or 5 months, we're gonna have some really good growth on this. We can see if it actually fully rotates all the way over. It's a lot of experimenting. So yeah, so you can see as the water goes down, you're going to have a little bit more dryness. And then again, oysters like that. They do have to dry out a little bit for their growth. And basically this is just wired together for, roped together for keeping the two pieces of wood together, but then also having that rope for texture, for oyster growth, for mollusk growth, and everything like that. Yeah, so that's like a short of all my experimenting with, I'm calling them good reefs. I don't know what that means, but I have a marketing background. That's where that's going from.
That's great though. That's a really exciting project and a really great way of, utilizing kind of found items to recreate a habitat that is just in need for sure. I mean, we all hear about reefs and all that being totally decimated by global warming and climate change. So to have something so unique to be able to kind of combat that could be, recreated and redone in places all over, that would be really exciting and great. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I do want to say and like note, I'm working with a marine biologist. She's a friend of mine, and she actually works with oysters and that kind of stuff. And I've shown her the growth that I've had like over months and that kind of stuff. And she's been incredibly like excited. She works in North Jersey up in the like rivers and up there. And she's like, we could use these. So that's really exciting. And always encouraging people to like reach out you can volunteer with them. I believe it's like New York or New Jersey Bay.
The Baykeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New Jersey Baykeeper. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They're great.
So them.
Cool.
Yeah. So they didn't have volunteers for a while because of COVID, but if you want to volunteer with them, I highly encourage it. They're a really great group of people. So very.
Oh, that's great. That's a really great tip because they do great work. We map our watershed through some of the programs that they do. So that's really great because all of the water goes to the ocean, obviously. So we don't want pollution coming from Teaneck Creek or from, the bays of New York City or anything like that either. So that's really exciting. But you do have another project that you've been working on that I think is kind of the crown jewel of what you're wanting to chat with us about, which we're excited to talk about because it really kind of ties into your sculpture building and more of that ecology and kind of bringing nature indoors, which I think is such an important concept, thinking about what we've been through with COVID over the last year and everyone kind of being stuck inside. This is a really exciting opportunity to have people be able to kind of bring a little bit of green into their homes. So that being said, what inspired you to create a hydroponic gardening system?
So I had a rooftop garden in Philly. One of the initiatives in Philly is green roofs. So they take half of the roof and make it gravel, and they plant different types of little cacti on top and flowering stuff. So to help the bees and help pollinators and stuff like that. And I had a pretty decent sized garden, and it was very successful. It was like the first garden I've like managed on my own. And besides doing gardening, my growing up. But my roommate was a chef, and he was like, these are fantastic. I wish I could have them all year. Someone had said something about hydroponics and I could have it in my restaurant, but like, I don't know anything about that, blah, blah, blah. And I literally went, perfect. And I just went straight into it. I looked up everything. It's a relatively new subject in terms of like technology. But this has been around for thousands of years. People have been doing it for literally thousands of years. There's a couple like Asian cultures that grow primarily just in waterlands. Mm-hmm. So they'll plant actual plants in hydroponic systems. When I say hydroponic systems, if you are new, and believe me, I was like 5 years ago, hydroponic system is basically using a soilless environment. So instead of having soil, what you're going to have, I actually brought up one of my little plants. These are little mustard greens.
Oh, exciting.
So this little mustard green, little guy, excuse me.
What a nice root system.
Grows in a net cup. So that's this guy. Where's my camera? So it grows in a little clear net cup. As you can see, the root system is totally cleaned off. These are pretty healthy roots. So what you want to know about roots is you want them to be nice and white. The hydroponic system, what it does, there's many different types. There's people always want to talk about fish, introducing fish, and the fish have a full system and that stuff. I don't use fish. I use it's a organic powdered material that I put into the water. The nutrients is then absorbed through the root system. And then because we can't have just stagnant water or root system in stagnant water, you want airflow. So basically a hydroponic system that I'm using is kind of like ebb and flow. So what that means is new water and fresh water is brought throughout the system, and fresh nutrients, fresh water, fresh oxygen is brought to the roots. Now, that's basically half of what you're battling. The other half is sunlight, right? And as I've gone through the process of kind of creating my own system and researching and trying everything on the market and buying weird things off Amazon, off who knows where, because it's so new, it's just like there's no regulation or anything like that. The systems are really ugly. They're really not nice to look at. It's not something you would have in your like.
It's not that statement piece you want.
No. And that's kind of where I was coming at. It's something like bring greens into your home. And I was like, oh, I'm going to create this thing. I'm going to use and just see what I want and have problems and try to solve them. So one of the biggest problems is in a system, it's typically just so horizontal. The system in my basement, which I will show you, is a bigger system that is just not something that I physically came out of my mind, but just kind of like piecemeal together, and kind of it's very functional. It's just not something great to look at. So what I did is I wanted to create a vertical system, a system that can live on your wall, so hang on your wall and be an art piece. And I basically just started from nowhere and looked around and saw what was on the market. I wanted to see, I knew how to grow horizontally in a hydroponic system. I had successful growths. The cool thing about lettuces and greens, you can keep cutting and they will keep growing back. As long as you like clean the water, you know, and by clean the water, I just mean like literally introducing clean water and nutrients. And basically I've gone through about like 25 prototypes. And
trial and error, it's all good. You gotta keep working at it.
No. So I do want to show you. So basically what I wanted to come from is have a system, a water basin, so a water reservoir that will hold your water and your nutrients, right? And then I basically wanted a fountain system to bring the water up and bring it down. But a lot of the things with that is water flow, and no one wants a water stain on the wall. You don't want leaking. You don't, yeah. And also with vertical grow systems, the plants will be suspended at an angle. So what that means, they will be suspended much like this. So the water will then drip down onto my notes, and then and then basically it will absorb the nutrients. I've had better growth where the roots actually sit a little bit more into the water. But I've seen throughout the prototypes, I've seen just where it is a drip system, where they literally can just come down and drip. And you do get something you have to know when you're like planting your garden in general, or especially in a raised or potted system. All of this is happening down here. Like, have you ever seen those like images of like a tree and then its root system is below? It really is like that. And a little fact, I won't go too much into it, but when you're trimming these screens and that kind of stuff, if you have a hydroponic system, and I won't go too far into it, you do want to trim your roots, which is something that like doesn't seem like a good idea, but it keeps the roots healthy. And especially you're not going to want to get too entangled within your water system. So I'm going to show you some photos of some of the prototypes that I had going on. One exciting thing today that happened today, and so ironic, I called my mom immediately. I applied for a utility patent for my hydroponic system because it does include a so you're seeing the whole system. Let's go back.
So cool. Yeah.
So right there, you're seeing it's a 3D print. So today I actually received a letter from the U.S. Department of Patent and Trademark Office, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And basically what they told me today, that where they were like, we've gone through the initial steps and they've like published my application. So another great step towards getting a patent, but this has been I want to say over a year and a half, almost 2 years of between a provisional patent, which is what you're going to do in the beginning, and then you apply for your non-provisional. That happened in October, and I have not heard from them till today, which is very yeah, I got the letter.
Long process.
Yeah, that's exciting though. Big steps.
Yeah. The patent journey as an artist is rough. It's a lot of paperwork. If anyone on this video is thinking about patenting something, shoot me an email, because I will save you hours and hours of work that I learned. I know no one who's an inventor. Not that they have told me. So anyway, this is a hydroponic system. It's basically half of what the whole system is. Again, you're seeing it at an angle. You're seeing the net cuts, those are black. And then these are just simple little romaine guys. They're little seedlings. I think they're maybe a week old. And with hydroponic systems, you're actually saving water, which is something pretty interesting. Not something that you would think about, because a lot of water is lost when you put into the soil, and then it's either and it's just evaporated, or a lot of the water isn't absorbed by the actual roots, or gone through, or spilled, or hydroponic growing saves about 95% more efficient than traditional farming methods.
Very impressive. Yeah.
In water. So like, so incredible. On the left, you're actually seeing my light panel, which on the back of the light panel are my LED lights for growth. That is one thing that, again, if you're thinking about growing hydroponically and you want to make your own system, LED lights through experimentation and that kind of stuff are all different. They're not really regulated. It's hard to test them without like just testing them. And I want to say like 99% are made in China. So not really a great feeling from an ecological standpoint, especially if they just don't work.
It's a long life cycle to come across the ocean for that.
Oh yeah, it's insane. So anyway, so what you're seeing at the top is actually a little T system. My grandfather was a plumber, so I like to think I have a little plumbing experience now. The water comes up to the top and basically drips down through those systems to each plant. I have bok choy, I think that's Bib lettuce and kale. And then thyme, mint is on the top, and then I think that's cilantro in the bottom right. But you're seeing one of my messy prototypes. So through the system of like manufacturing, and I worked with a designer who helps manufacture Weber grills. So that was an interesting couple of weeks, but trying to figure out for manufacturing and having these actually made, because these are all 3D printed, which is, you can see the lines and that kind of stuff. And 3D printed objects are really hard to make waterproof.
Right.
Oh, really?
Because of the seams, right?
The seams, and then also like, because it's basically a picture, it's printed, you're gonna naturally get some, leakage. So yeah, so it's been, and I wanted a 2-part system that I wanted them to be, I wanted it to be symmetrical. So that would make it a 1-part mold, a 2-part mold for the whole thing. So you'd basically make 2 of these pieces to make a single one. So that was like been the process for my initial guys. This is with the light on, you can see a little bit more of the tea. This is really great. The silver foil is really great for reflecting and keeping all your light in. You don't want to lose too much light, especially with LEDs. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, well, how long do you keep him lit for? Like a typical?
Yeah, so what is recommended is about 16 hours of daylight. But with timers and that kind of stuff and everything being made in China, and this is a very, very new technological thing with timers and that kind of stuff built in. That was one of the things I was trying to do. I have it a 12-hour on and a 12-hour off.
Cool.
Yeah, so just something to keep in mind when you're creating your own. Now, I'm going to show you later. We actually should go down now. Look at that little guy. He's so cute.
Can I also ask, while we're talking about plants real quick, I know you showed us a couple different greens, a couple herbs. Are there limits to what you can grow within a hydroponic system? Like, could I grow tomatoes? Is that an option? Or should I stick with greens?
Yeah, so actually I'm going to show you some tomato plants that I probably shouldn't have in there. It's getting like a jungle. I've been gone. I actually was visiting family for about 2 weeks, and the system was totally fine. I didn't have to do anything. So it's really in that way, just so low maintenance. So I have the system that you saw pictures of right here, and you can see kind of like the scale of it. Kind of small. It's maybe 18 inches tall, and then the light would cover the entirety of the thing. So trying to make it more of a art piece on the wall, make it aesthetically pleasing, and then the greens would kind of come out of it.
Cool.
So that was my process.
It's great that it's It's great that it's small like that too, because anyone could have one.
Yeah, it's compact enough for like an apartment. If you didn't have like a large growing space or a huge wall to put it on, it could totally just be a statement on a small wall if you had that. That's cool.
Yeah. And another one of my like problem solving things was there are aero gardens. There's Click and Grow. There's a bunch of countertop grow units, which are great. I actually have one. It's fun. I don't see as much growth versus my units. And that's why I have them, to kind of test them. Because the water is stagnant in the system, it's not bringing oxygen into the water. you're not seeing as much growth, but they're fine. They're fun, but they're on a counter too. And I lived in New York. Counter space is like gold. And it just would be so much better to just have it on a wall.
Sometimes you want a toaster instead of a hydroponic system, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'd rather have the hydroponic system.
So this is actually my like second go around of these would have been made with a blow mold. So a blow mold, blowing plastic inside a mold and then cutting out pieces. These are actually just 4 pieces stacked on top. And then if you wanted holes or if you wanted the water reservoir, and then they just pop out. This was in my car, so it might be melting. I'm not going to pop it out, but each one is a single unit and kind of.
So you could stack as many as you wanted.
Right. Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
Down the road, if you wanted a larger system, having that kind of modular thing was like really appealing to me towards the ender. The last.
Does that have less of the seam, or like with a printing, it wouldn't have those leakage issues, I guess, that type of plastic creation?
Yeah, so it has no seam, which is great for when you actually make it, right? But these are 3D printed. 3D printing is a really wonderful, like tangible. I'm a sculptor. I like having my hands on things. I like seeing scale.
Right.
And this like, if you're interested about creating anything really 3D, Rhinoceros is a 3D program. Forgive me if you know it already. It was new to me. You can get a free, I think like 3 to 6 months of Rhino, and it's a fantastic way. It's hard. I had to teach myself how to use it. It's like CAD, AutoCAD, but it's a really fantastic way to show what you want to make in a 3D world.
Wow.
And you'll need that to make your 3D models. I'm going to bring you down into my hydroponic layer.
Oh,
so
perfect. As you walk, can you tell us a little bit? I know you mentioned saving on water, but can you tell us more about the benefits of a hydroponic system?
Yeah, so obviously year-round growth. One of the cool things that I've been able to do, I haven't bought greens in, I want to say like almost a year. So I eat a salad about once a day. Ask my parents, they hate it. But I have a salad at least once a day. I try to be healthy, you know, get my greens in, whatever. And I haven't bought lettuce or anything like that in about a year. You're getting your year-round growth. So I'm not going out and getting plastic, like all the plastic packaging and that kind of stuff. So it really is just fantastic. Fresh herbs, you can't go wrong. If you're making anything and having like really fresh herbs. I know when we like, oh, I need rosemary. Oh, go spend $7 on rosemary at the thing, and then I'll use half of it and the rest will get shoved in the back of the refrigerator and will rot back there. But this, you get to cut exactly what you want. Forgive me, you're in my basement. Let's see, scale. But this is my larger system.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I think I'm going to stop my video so that the viewers can see that larger than us, so we're not taking up screen space.
Okay.
So
what you're looking at right now is a larger hydroponic system. It has your water basin at the bottom. It is about 120 plants. There's 40 on each. I have pepper plants that I need to transport into my parents' actual garden. So one of the cool things about hydroponic gardening, it's really great to start your seedlings off of and then just to go plant in your garden.
wow.
It's like I have tomato plants all the way in the back. Those will hopefully be in my parents' garden in New Jersey. But right now they're not, obviously. They're a really great way to like start off your growing season early too.
So are they still those Jersey tomatoes? If they're not grown in Jersey soil, they're grown in water in Philly.
They will be Jersey tomatoes. They'll just be little transplants. So through growing, I've been able to try different herbs and lettuces. I've tried 3 different varieties of arugula.
Wow.
I didn't even know arugula flowered until
Yes, when it starts to bolt.
yeah. So I've got these monsters. Obviously, we're getting a little crazy. Forgive me, this light is strong. Obviously, it's recreating the sun. And then
No, it looks cool, like a really cool jungle.
yeah. It's normally not crazy like this. Again, I've been gone for 2 weeks. So what you're seeing in the front is mustard greens. I'm really into mustard. We're getting into Swiss chard here with this little guy. Where am I? I'm over here. All right. Swiss chard. And then you have my tomato guy. He was not looking so hot, so I put him in the top, and now he's doing pretty well. We're doing great. And you could get giant. I'll pull this guy out. Giant romaine, guys. See that root system down there?
Look at that roots.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Nice, clean. You want that nice white growth. Once we get towards that brown stuff, I should really trim that off.
Mm-hmm.
But this is probably 3 weeks of growth. You're just getting so much quicker growth. A lot of good stuff going on down here. It's a little scary. It's in a basement. But it is doing saving me a lot of money. I think I probably spent on this entire system with seeds, maybe like $150.
Wow.
So not terrible.
No, that's good.
That's a great for all of that. And that's like so much food.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things that I want to like, one of the drawbacks of having a smaller system like I was creating, but forgive me, what you see, but I love arugula. I just had a mustard green and arugula like Caesar salad. It was baller.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds delicious.
And just through like creating and like experimenting, I've been able to see like how spinach grows, and like these like they get these little like hairs on them. They kind of look like spikes. I've been able to see a lot more. I'm gonna bring you back upstairs, but that is
While we're on the move, we did have a couple of questions come in from the audience. So we wanted to just quick ask you some of those questions as well. Let me just pull this back up. So we had a question come in that you had mentioned that some of the LEDs are kind of questionable. Do you have any specific recommendations for a LED that you would recommend? I saw that you had some like strip wire LEDs and some more bulbs. Yeah. What do you think would be a best go-to?
So what I can do is I can share what I would recommend for small, because it is very specific, and I've been following. The problem is it's made in China, so it's really hard to follow the manufacturer, because they change and run out. They'll like make a bunch of them and then they'll run out. I've done the legwork. I will send you the link and we can post that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Because people ask me all the time, and I'm literally like, do not waste your money. There is one that is fantastic. I see a lot of, when you see hydroponic systems, you see a lot of like purple light.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's fine. I have my purple light for, I don't really love indoor plants because I like to eat things. That's pretty much just I was like, why would I grow that? But I started a bunch of seeds and trying to test out the indoor plant, whatever world, and I had purple lights on them, all different kinds. I think I had like 5 or 6 different manufacturing styles, and Lord, it was crazy. And then I tried a full spectrum, so that's what it's called, full spectrum light. The purple light uses the red spectrum, and then you have the blue spectrum. Actually, I have a picture of it. Helpful. So what you're seeing, that's like the spectrum of like basically, well, like what plants use and that kind of stuff. So what you're saying is if you don't have full spectrum, so you're not getting those greens and yellows, you're just getting a lot of the reds and a little bit of the blues. They are using that green and yellow. specifically for fruiting and that kind of stuff. So if you did want to do tomatoes, one, have it in a bigger system than the downstairs one. You'd get too much crowding. But with the red and blue, I haven't had fantastic growth from a purple light, and I've tried tons. It's just not something that I would recommend wasting your money on. I'd recommend this one full spectrum light. I'll give you the link for sure. I'll post that as well. Yeah, it's funny because I'll walk around the city and I'll see like purple lights and I'll be like, also it screws up with your eyes. I don't know.
It's not natural. If we're used to full spectrum from the sun, right? You don't want to have limited light in your eyes either. I guess that could be a problem too. I mean, you can see the glare in these glasses. They're the blue light reflectors so that you don't have all of that screen time on your eyes. So it's probably the plants feel the same way. They're not used to just one type of light either, right? They're outside for a reason. We do have, I see 2 other questions that came in from the audience. And if you're watching and have any other questions, we only have a few minutes left, so you can type them into the comments and we'll get to ask Chris those. But the first question is, are you looking to, or are you currently selling your hydroponic system?
I'm not selling it. It maybe down the road. Honestly, what it led to is I really went back to my why I started it, and it was like, I want to help the environment. Like I want to be a proponent of that. Having fresh herbs is really great. But that's kind of why I transitioned into the floating reefs. I feel like I've just seen more success. It's been more exciting. And it's having less, I'm not producing a ton of plastic.
Right.
But that being said, my hydroponic system downstairs, where I'm continually getting lettuce from, I'm not buying stuff. It's something that I can have my entire life. This plastic won't, it's not going anywhere. That's why we make plastic.
It's got a long life cycle. Yeah.
Huge long life cycle is totally worth it. It's saving water. And because I'm in the city, I can have fresh herbs, fresh lettuces year round. I also have we have some Philly squirrels that will attack anything. So I can't even have anything anyway. So it's really have something inside.
That's great.
Yeah, and you're cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions too, because normally after food's harvested, it's transported to the grocery store. So kind of cutting that right out of the supply chain.
You're just making some, sweat time going up and down the stairs from your basement, It's your own, carbon dioxide that you're expelling. I do have one last question that came in. Just how much time did you spend with maintenance to keep up with your hydroponic system? Do you think it has a long time
commitment,
or is it something that a weekend project someone could pick up, try to start?
It's definitely experimenting. Traditional, it's a lot less time than traditional gardening. You're gonna spend a lot less time. It's gonna be a lot less maintenance.
No bugs.
No
pests. Yeah, because you're indoors.
You don't have to worry about that at all.
That's
think
great.
I had a system down in Florida, and we had the windows open and that kind of stuff, and we had a couple little flies around it, but not it wasn't a big deal. Plus we had the doors open. We were just being irresponsible.
Enjoying the beautiful weather, I'm sure.
Right. And because I can I literally don't put anything on the leaves or anything like that. I literally cut it into my salad bowl. So I'm not cleaning it. I'm not, no
pesticides. There's nothing else that you need
soil, to, even if you're organically, there's soil, and you should rinse your stuff because of that. But because there's such a separation of it, you don't need to, and it's just cuts down. It's cutting down on water to clean the salad. So yeah.
That's awesome. You can totally do it all right in one spot.
Right.
That's really cool. Well, I think that was our last question. Give everyone maybe one more second if you wanted to share. Or did we have any other ones left, Allie, that you think? Oh, last question, I think, because it's so pertinent to being an eco art member and being a part of Teaneck Creek's commitment to sharing nature and art. What would you recommend to someone who is interested in kind of solving one of these real world problems and combining nature and art? What's a recommendation, suggestion?
What I would say is, one, go for it totally. Two, like find out what's already there. Like you don't have to recreate the wheel. Like find out what's already there and find out how you can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, if you're looking to like invent something, and it took me 4 months, I am embarrassed to say, but google.com/patents.
Mm.
Yep. I was calling the United States Patent and Trademark Office about 3 times a day.
It's a lot.
Until they were like, Chris, and they didn't even say hello. Please, have tried Google, and I thought, but it's just one of those things. Like we had access to all this information, and it's all at your fingertips. I've watched so many YouTube videos. There's tons of people that want to share and be goofballs like me and want to share what they've learned and their trials. And like don't recreate the wheel. Like research. You have everything at your fingertips. Keep going. And then also, because I'm an artist, like that, sometimes I get too tunnel vision. Step out of it and kind of be like, and second guess yourself. I always did it when I was like presenting to someone new and be like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. This is what it is. This is what it's going to do. And this is why people would like it. And this is why it's good for the environment. And if it wasn't actually solving those things through like presenting to them, right, then you had to change something.
You have to hit all of the needs. That's really important. Right. That's great. Those are some great advice and tips. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that. So I think that is the last question that we have for you, and we are just about to hit our hour. So we wanted to say thank you so much for joining us tonight and for being our first guinea pig on our Meet the Eco Artist series. We're happy to be able to have this conversation with you and learn more about how you're combining your love of art and nature, because that is what we do here at Teaneck Creek. And we are grateful to have you as a member of our Eco Art Committee. And to anyone out there, if you have a joy or love or passion for combining nature and art, feel free to reach out to us. Our Eco Art Committee is continually trying to come up with new installations for our park or new projects that we can undertake to share this synergy with our community. So we'd really love to hear from you if you are interested in learning more. So I hope you all have a great Monday night. Thank you all so much. Our next program on Meet the Eco Artist series will be with Rick Mills on June 14th. So check our Facebook page and our website and you can join us then. Thank you all and have a great night. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.